All right, what is up, everybody? Welcome back here to the program, the Chris Maher Show. I'm in a very good mood tonight, and I'm very excited to kind of get everything going here. We got a couple of minutes before we kind of get everything going, but Mike is in here. Going to start up Kicking It With Knuble. Let me switch this over really quick, and here we go. Hey, Mike.
Hi, Chris. How you doing, buddy?
Good, man. How are you?
Real good. Real good. Real
Yeah.
good. Yeah. Yeah.
What's it called? So a lot of tonight's kind of there's more to talk about tonight. Thank God. The past couple of weeks there hasn't been as much, and it's been getting a little. I've been going crazy over here, Mike. There's a lot to talk about. I'm pumped for the season, and I think the biggest thing for us right now is the fact that the Flyers got Frost signed. It feels like every time I've had you on for the past maybe like 6 or 7 weeks, I've mentioned that he still was waiting for a contract, and finally he gets one. Signs 2 years, 2.1 million. Just kind of quick thoughts on the deal, and then we'll kind of get into the player a little bit.
Well, yeah, I know it's hard when you get in some of these negotiations where, kind of like nobody knows really what to do with you a little bit because you're finished very strong, but you haven't proven enough. You know what I mean? And so it's kind of like where the Flyers are in a spot, and they're like, well, we love you, but we just can't find it worth paying you yet for your smaller body of work. And the player's like, well, I'm going to be a good player and just trust me. And then, it's kind of like, well, who's, it's the chicken and the egg, but, he certainly, started off very slowly this year and then came around with a great second half, especially when he got with Tippett, JVR there. And so that's great to see. And I mean, I think that as a player, that is like super exciting, to finish a season on such a high. And it makes your summer training go so much better. And you're kind of seeing that, in the future, you're coming in with a different mentality, coming to camp, not just trying to make the team, but really improve on what you've already started, And so, at the same time, though, it's a lot of questions all summer and people and wondering and daydreaming. But, I mean, it's going to get done. And actually, I mean, it's like the same things in a lot of things in life, man. Once you get down to the time crunch and you want to get things done, then that's what's going to get done. And that's the reality for restricted free agents, is that they're up against the clock a little bit. And you get dealt with when you get dealt with. Nobody's going anywhere. Flyers know it. He knows it. Nobody's going anywhere, so we'll just get it done. Yeah.
Right. No, exactly. And again, I think it's a great point because I look at this whole thing with Frost too, and it's a good deal for him because and really for the team. I guess we'll start with the team. This is like the third player that they've kind of locked up on this like short term type of deal. We've talked about it before with Cates. You've mentioned it that like Ryan Poehling could be playing for a type of contract like this. There's a lot of little things that that the Flyers are kind of doing here where they're just kind of getting these guys at like the right type of deals to kind of see what they are, because the Flyers don't know what they are yet. And I think, you're getting, these type of players at those sort of deals. Frost previously was on a 1 year, 800,000 type of deal. He gets a raise, obviously. And, I feel, he deserved that. I mean, he didn't have the best start to the season. Torts, was kind of comparing him to a toilet seat, and there were some other issues with his play and I think more so his usage. I actually did some a lot of like underlying like numbers and research on him recently, and the one thing that I found out was he played on 38 different lines last year. And for you, obviously, from playing NHL, that's a lot of different combinations. And only played on one for, I think the longest stretch was 30 games. And that was towards the end of the year. That was the Van Riemsdyk and Tippett line, so where he actually ended up producing. So that kind of shows you a little bit there where he plays with more guys consistently. He can score more, and he also had more points towards the end of the year, stuff like that too. Just kind of going off of that too, Mike. For Frost, where do you kind of see him as a player? Like a lot of people, I think, are in the middle because they don't really know what he is yet. Smaller type of center, can shoot. He has the ability to shoot. He has a lot of skill, put up a hell of a lot of points in junior. Where do you kind of see him right now?
Yeah, I mean, it's a question if you get off to a good start, when you get put in that role, you talk about, I mean, 38 different line combinations is a lot, right? And it's really hard to build continuity with players and kind of get your feet under you, confidence. You're asking yourself, how do I fit in on this team? And I'm telling you, a little bit of boost, like a little bit of finishing strong at the end of the year, and getting a decent bridge contract to everybody figure out who you are as a player. And at the same time, it's the team saying, "Oh, we'll give you a couple bucks, keep you happy here. We'll take care of you a little bit." Now, we're not going to back the truck up to your, the Brinks truck up to you yet, but it's something that you're probably on a pretty short list. So, I mean, I don't know. And again, he's proven that he can play with high-end players, right? So, probably give him a shot in that. And Torts obviously is giving that shot. That means he likes him defensively. That means he's playing a good two-way game. And if Couturier comes back, and depending on how healthy he is, that probably has a lot to do with Morgan Frost and what's going to happen.
Exactly.
Obviously, comes back, and he's healed up really nicely and gets his feet under him. Now he's not the youngest guy anymore, but which is weird to say because he was a baby, when I played with him my last little bit. But he was a Morgan Frost type guy back in the day. But that'll have a lot to do with it. Is Sean Couturier a block on him? Like a block in the lineup so that he takes all the good ice and doesn't let him get as much. If Couturier goes down, then obviously Frost rolls can pick up, and probably he moves up the lineup a little bit.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, definitely. And it's funny because it feels like the Flyers, they have some good center depth kind of brewing. I mean, like really depending on where Michkov or Gauthier play, and I'm talking in really far down the line here. Like they have the ability to kind of have a good mix of guys down the middle, and obviously, like that's probably the biggest thing that you need to win in the Cup is down the middle. I mean, like obviously you need everything, and goaltending is everything is so important to win a Stanley Cup, but I think down the middle is probably one of the main things that you need. And I think a guy for Frost to put up 46 last year, I'm curious what you think about this, Mike. I could see him getting 70 points this year. I know it's kind of a long shot. I just look at the skill and more of the numbers, I think, that I was mentioning before on the underlying stuff when he's played with a stretch of guys for a longer period of time. And that's also considering if the Flyers are healthy. I could see him getting around 65, 70-ish points. Is that something you could say, or maybe not?
Well, I think, doing a little bit looking back on it too, he did not have a lot of power play points, right? So the only way you're getting to 65 or 70 is getting ample points on the power play, right?
Exactly.
Exactly. Part of that, which you should hope for. And again, Couturier, I know is a big PK guy, but Couturier is a pretty good all-around guy. Probably do a little bit of each. And again, that's who's going to be the big, a little bit of an X factor for him as far as if he's going to get his fair shot, and not fair shot, but extra ice and extra chances like that from Torts. So, it's a little worrisome that he put up something in the mid 40s with maybe 4 or 5 points on the power play is all. That's certainly an interesting. Ratio. You really wouldn't see that, that you put up that without having a little more success on the power play. So he's going to have to find that success and find his role and find his spot on the power play. And Tort's going to have to help him get there too. But that's the only reason. That's the only way he's going to get 65 or 70. And again, I think that has a lot to do with Couturier being in the way, maybe.
Right. Exactly. And I think part of that too, and we've touched on this before, that like the power play has to be better. I mean, you can't be 3 years in a row in the later stages of the league and around 32. I think the past 2 years it's been so. It just can't happen. But switching gears, the Flyers, they made a couple of changes in hockey operations. I actually wrote an article about this last week. Was it? Yeah, last week. A lot of different things here, Mike. Just to kind of start off, Bobby Clark, Paul Holmgren, Bill Barber, they're still kind of involved. I know there's been a lot of conversation about the fans kind of not wanting those guys around. I have a different opinion on that. Bob Murray, he kind of comes in. He is a former general manager of the Ducks. He was hired as a senior advisor. I was told personally, and I wrote this in the article, that Jonesy was the one who had hired Bob Murray. Danny Heatley comes in as a pro scout. That was mentioned a couple months back by Charlie O'Connor, who's formerly of The Athletic. Greg Chase, who worked with Danny Briere in Maine with the Maine Mariners of the ECHL. He comes in as a pro scout along with Danny Heatley. Daniel Tremblay, who was formerly a scout in the Q with Gatineau, is also brought in. And then Mike Eastwood, who was a former NHLer for 13 years, replaced Dave Brown as director of pro scouting. Brown is still with the Flyers. He's just in a lesser role. And then John Chapman and Al Hill, they both retired. They were long scouts with the Flyers for a while. So just any kind of thoughts on these moves?
Yeah, no, it's you start with a couple of guys in retirement. Happened. Same thing happened with Red Wings a couple of years ago when Eisman came in. Guys like Mark Howe retired. There was another guy, Glenn McCoskey, retired. There's a few guys that move around. It seems like whenever there's a transition, the newer guy's going to bring in a few guys. Mike Eastwood, I know, is a Western guy. He's known Jonesy a long time, and so there's an element of trust there. And obviously, he's been in the game.
It's a good connection, yeah.
Dave Brown's, an awesome human being as a pro scout. We see him in our alumni stuff, and he's just a real good guy. And at the end of the day, there's guys getting older too a little bit. They might not want to be, on the road as much and making that commitment, because it is a really hard commitment to be on the road that much. So I think all this is like pretty natural, and there's always transition every year, and guys come and go, and guys get added, and guys are shifting around and stuff. And I saw like Brian Boucher, somebody's got to fill Jonesy's spot on TV.
I was just going to ask you about that.
Yeah, TV, who's done a really nice job on a national level. I thought it's been very good at a national level. So there's always something, it's chess pieces, right? Somebody moves, and then people start moving around in spots. So it's all, the game never stays the same. Organizations never stay the same. Guys move around, they tweak and stuff like that. And Bob Murray will be a great add. He's very active and a younger guy in the game that's been around a while. And there's still something to be said for a lot of experience. You can't go out and get new guys and guys who think they're going to reinvent the game a little bit. There still is a lot of experience in knowing people and how to get answers and knowing who they trust. They have a broad, guys who've been around, they have a broad network around the league. And so if they want an answer, they want to know about something, they can make a phone call or two and get to it. So that's always a good thing versus always having new guys trying to find their way. And they offer new blood and new energy for sure. But, still there's value and experience there.
Right. Exactly. And that's the thing. I think the one thing that's to keep in mind is that, there's so much experience that they're bringing in, and it's not just, guys that are former Flyers. It's, guys like you said, like, in Mike Eastwood's case, guys that kind of know Jonesy from Western Michigan, stuff like that. They're trying to add all these different things. And I think it's a good thing because, you're adding in every area. And again, it's guys that, it's guys you're familiar with and how you want to, run your hockey team. And I think it's one of the smart things that we've been doing, because I think in the past couple of years, at least you've seen it a bit in the NHL. It's like either a team goes and hires guys that are, former alumni and stuff like that, like we've done in recent years, or they go in a different route, kind of like we did with Chuck Fletcher, and, hiring a guy that's from a completely different organization. And it seems like there's like a kind of, 50-50 split in the middle with that.
Sure. And don't equate like being familiar and having trust in a guy and bringing them in, like with nepotism or something like that. I mean, it's, the guys they bring in are super qualified and
right.
And they know what they're doing.
That's a great point.
Again, I mean, there are some things you can get versus bringing in a guy you don't know at all.
Right.
There's a lot of hoops you got to jump through to say, okay, I dig this guy. You're going on a couple interviews or whatever, and you call a few people and build a reputation. You have a definite feel for what a guy is going to be like. But there is something to be said for the networking, and this whole business is a big network. It's a big network, and guys that know each other and they resources and trust each other and get answers and get opinions on things, even outside organizations. They talk very, amongst trust and amongst colleagues and all that. So it's an interesting thing. There's a reshuffle every year, and every team does it. Every team gets 4 or 5 different repositions, and whether some of that is by performance or some is by like guys stepping back and getting older. And some have health issues. Some have health issues at home. They're been doing it for 30 years, and this seems like a good jumping off point, or whether they're kind of coaxed to the door a little bit too. So it's interesting.
Yeah, no, for sure. Okay. Switching gears, rookie camp, coming up this week. I'm very excited for this. It's like I'm like itching for this. It's insane. Rookie camp is coming. There is a bunch of kind of news and kind of stuff around this. The roster did come out. Also, the rookie games are this weekend. There's going to be practices all throughout the week. Just for those listening, and whether from Twitter or YouTube, Facebook, whatever, I will be at rookie camp and pretty much the entire week. But the roster, goaltenders, all that type of stuff. I will kind of get into this a little bit. Just my kind of curious, kind of where you see it, because we talked about Forrester last week as one of kind of the main topics, and where his development could be, and kind of where he could be as the season kind of progresses, and at least through main camp. But as for someone who worked in the AHL a long time and obviously played a long time too, like where do you kind of see rookie camp, and how did you kind of take that in, like as a player as well?
Well, back in our day, they played 2 rookie games, right? And then there were games that were just like you couldn't even finish the games. Like everybody was fighting. It was like there were like 2 guys left on the bench. I think eventually, I don't know if it was with kind of conjunction, maybe with 2004, or I don't know. The GMs kind of got together and said we can't even evaluate the game because it's just everybody trying to fight everybody. So,
right, just to make a spot.
Tough, and then guys are getting injured and breaking a hand, and the one I played, I only played one of them, and it was against Toronto, and I mean it was like in Kitchener, Ontario, or something, and Steve Webb, who ended up playing for the Islanders, broke his his hand in a fight. He fought like 2 or 3 times, and it's just like you can't even get 30 seconds of play without something happening. So
right,
well, like moving it now, maybe it's conjunction of the game and stuff like that. They are way more productive. My time in Detroit, we'd go to Traverse City, and we had actually a round robin. Then COVID kind of knocked that down, so there's only 4 or 5 teams there. They just kind of play each other once. There is some value in playing games. Like Philadelphia's going to play Friday, Saturday. Guys get tired a little bit, so it kind of loses. I'd almost see them going Friday, Saturday, and then maybe Monday or something like that again with a day off. But playing back-to-back games, I get that with travel and just getting it done pretty quick. And I know there's these practice and then 2 games and then 3 practices after. Getting guys like rested again for training camp and ready for their main camp. But there's certainly really interesting, like Kenny Allen, GM of the Red Wings, and he would come in and announce to the team, he'd be like, there's, when there were 6 teams there, he'd be there 25, 30 players in this tournament playing in this Traverse City tournament that will play in the NHL this year, and as recently you've had Mo Sider in Detroit, Lucas Raymond, guys like that who basically did well in the rookie camp and then went right up, and so it gives guys, some of the guys that are, Forster and those guys who are on the edge of kind of making a team, they get to be the captain of this team. They get to be the go-to guy. They get to be the focus of the team and who the coach is going to put the first line. And you get a
good point.
You get to play penalty killing. The older guys, those guys on the board, the tournament kind of revolves around them as players a little bit, which is good. And how much stock you put into it, I don't know. You like it when you love it when one of your better players who you're hoping does well, or hoping to do well, does well. And you're always kind of a little bit, well, here's one of our star players who didn't have a great rookie tournament. You're always kind of like, well, it's just a rookie, and it's just there's different levels of interest to it in it too,
Exactly.
So on the way up as players, some more it's more of a proving ground where you're fighting for a contract, and then other guys are like, man, I'm just doing this to get through the main camp, So guys are in different boats a little bit.
Right, exactly. And again, I think it's a great point, because when you look at the roster, I mean, again, there's some invites that have, come from camp in these past couple of years. They've been coming from development camp and then end up getting an invite to rookie camp. Example, Jacob Gaucher, these past 2 years, he's come out of the queue. He's been at development camp and rookie camp these past 2 seasons. So he's been getting invites. Some guys, they take it like it's kind of their last chance to make the NHL. Gaucher, specifically in his case, he went undrafted. And then, guys like Forrester, guys like Dean Oye, you have other guys that are kind of in the mix too. Guys like Emil Andre that could be trying to, like you said, end up making the team out of camp, or at least having a good start into Flyers training camp coming up in about a week. And then again, there's still more invites and some other guys that could just be playing for the Phantoms, Reading, stuff like that too. So I think again, I think it's a good point, because there's different, interest levels to it. Like you mentioned, I think even for fans too, like for me, like I'm really curious to see how Forrester does, because with development camp, you couldn't see it as much. I think, well, he was banged up a little bit. I believe if I remember correctly, I might be wrong though.
Summer, yeah,
Um,
summer. Guys are a little closer to like game shape now.
yeah, exactly. And I think part of it too, Mike, is the fact that, he's the type of guy that you're looking to just kind of, take the bull by the horns and really kind of show what he can do and kind of prove that he doesn't really need to play in these anymore type of thing. And so
Yeah,
that's one of the guys I'm kind of looking at here with these couple of games.
yeah, and I mean, if the staff had their way, they do want to see him dominate the games, which is hard, right? Because you're
Right.
really, I mean, your peers, the guys that you're going against are pretty good players too,
Right.
And so it's again, you want to, these guys want to get their reps in. You love to see them, goal or two, in these games and play great and and do that. You don't have to put up 6 points in 2 games or something like that, but just good play. Look like you're a standout player a little bit, and show your speed, beat some guys wide and make some plays, have the puck a lot, do that sort of thing to be noticed. Whether it turns into points or not, you can't necessarily control and just playing 2 games, but you want to see it like having good habits. They want to see you look stronger, win your battles in the corners, look as if you're like you're a man amongst boys, a little bit. And
look engaged.
Yeah, and just look better than you did it last year at this point. A couple of steps quicker, step or 2 quicker, stronger in the corners, bully way around, and if you have to, win your battles and make smart plays and show that you wanna make the team, and it's hard for younger players because you don't really have that urgency. Like, I'm trying to get through it. Like playing to get through it is way different than coming out and trying to be the best player. And
for sure, yeah.
Like it or not, unfortunately, it kind of matters that you really you just want to do your best as a player to leave a good taste in everybody's mouth. I mean,
right.
It's pretty simple as it gets. Do whatever it is they brought you there to do and do it well and leave a good taste in their mouth.
Yeah, for sure. Okay. One last thing. I did just see this right before we ended up going live here, maybe like an hour or so before. And I'm curious kind of what you think about this. The NHL is open to moving back to Atlanta for the 3rd time. You got any
that's right.
any thoughts on this?
Well, I think, they keep fighting the Southeast. It's such a huge market. I just don't know. The infrastructure's there. You got the arena complex. You got like everything around it. It feels like it wants to work. It should work. Is it? It's a better setup than Nashville ever was. It's such a big market. I mean, it's a top 5 market probably in the States.
And Nashville's such a huge fan base too.
Yeah, and you got to have something there, and it's just, you feel like that city would just be like, it should be a great place to play. You got suburbs, a ton of money, huge corporations there, really, really cool arena. They have like opera boxes all on one side. All their boxes are on one side of the arena. It's a really kind of a unique setup. And they just stack them. It's like it's like an old theater. They're like stacked on top of each other. Really cool setup.
Yeah.
And it's just you're right there in downtown Atlanta. You just feel like it should work. And I don't know, like trying to keep fighting them in Phoenix or put them in Atlanta. You got to feel like Atlanta would want to work. Jeez, I don't know. Yeah, I don't know. I feel like it should work. Really, of all towns, of all cities, I feel like Atlanta should work. Really.
Are there any stories you have playing in Atlanta with the Thrashers?
Well, just that. I don't know.
I didn't play on the spot, but
yeah. It was always kind of like they weren't that good at the time, and it was like it was hard. I didn't mind going down there. Like it's super easy to play there as an athlete. Everybody just stayed at the Ritz-Carlton. There's like one team, basketball stayed there. It was a busy rink. There was basketball teams there, hockey teams there. You just went down the corner, and I don't know. It's just everybody was downtown. I just don't think that. I don't understand why it wouldn't work. And I think guys like playing there. They like playing in the rink and stuff. I don't know why it wouldn't work. I don't get it. But and their teams are okay. They're struggling, but we always had fun going down there. And you're just it was kind of an easy trip, an easy, nice place to play. It's always a little bit warmer, and I think as a player, you didn't mind going down there to play at all. It's easy.
Right.
I don't know. Good stories. I don't know, but. I don't know, but it was a good place to play. You felt like you're always going to have a decent night there. You're going to have some chances to score a little bit. It felt like because of where the organization was at the time, but
right.
So you're always kind of happy to play there.
Yeah, No, definitely for sure. Yeah, no, Mike, that's all I got for you. Thanks again. As always good talking with you and hearing your insight. And yeah, we'll kind of kick this back up next week. All right.
All right, Chris, you got it, buddy. Have a great week.
All right, you too, Mike. I'll see you.
Yeah. See ya.
There he is, Mike Knuble, kicking it with Knuble. I love doing that segment. That's one of my favorite things, man. So fun. So fun. All right, let's get into some rookie camp talk. I mentioned that I was going to do a rookie camp preview since I didn't do a video. Let's kind of get into it. So, anybody in the chat, also the call line, that is open. 267-939-1216, as always. So rookie camp. Let's kind of go through the schedule a little bit here. So, it'll start Thursday. Flyers will open this up. Practice at Voorhees, 11:30 a.m. Friday is morning skate at Voorhees as well. Everything is at Voorhees. I am getting a call here as well. Let me just kind of answer this one. Hey Tristan,
Chris?
go ahead, buddy.
What's up? What do you think about the Frost signing?
About who, buddy? Say it again.
The Frost signing.
Yeah, it's good, man. I mean, it was smart deal, and they end up getting them done before training camp.
Yeah. What do you expect for him this season? Do you know?
I'm hoping that he ends up putting up a good chunk of points. I've mentioned 70 points. I think it's possible with the skill that he has, the line mates, depending on where you put Frost specifically. I think he definitely could do it.
Do you think that Torts used him in the right way in this past season?
Not really.
Not really. Yeah.
No. I kind of look at him as at what Frost specifically did last year, and just the way that that it just felt like towards the end of the season he was starting to kind of get that swagger back. You know what I mean? Like
Trying to get his 20 goals.
Right. Yeah. He started scoring. He started putting up points. And everything is better when you're putting up points. So
when Kennedy was hurt, and he was, Frost was getting hot at the right time, regardless.
Yeah, no, for sure. And that's the thing. I mean, he ended up playing really well when some guys were getting help or, unfortunately hurt. And, it ended up kind of working out for Frost.
Hey, I'm going to say this. Do you think the Flyers get Kane?
Patrick Kane?
Yeah.
Probably not. No, I can't see Kane coming here. It just doesn't make any sense to me.
What about Taze? Probably not either.
No, I don't see any of the guys that could be almost done in their career, like maybe winding down type of thing.
I mean, the one thing about Taze, like if he would have came here, like simple when he was with Chicago, when Chicago had a putrid year,
yeah,
he was not like he was injured a lot, looks like, and he was getting sick.
Right. Yeah, exactly. And I think the one thing with Taze too is, and especially those type of guys, they're gonna go to teams that at least have a chance to compete in the playoffs, have a chance to win a cup, have that type of thing. Especially a guy like Kane, a guy like Taze, like that's exactly what they're gonna do.
King. Obvious King is one of the best players in the league.
Right.
I don't know. More likely, I'm not more focused on other teams. I'm just more focused on our team right now, because we already know what kind of our season goes sometimes.
Right. Yeah, for sure, buddy. It'll be interesting. Thanks.
Yeah. I was about to say I am more interested with the Flyers and Blue Jackets game, because Brovey makes his debut with the Blue Jackets that day.
Yeah, man. That'll be a good it'll be a good game. Hopefully a good opener for the season, and hopefully we end up winning. But thanks again, Tristan, always for calling in, man. And I'll talk to you soon. All right, buddy.
Yeah. Yeah, that is right. Florida's season starts pretty. Marie's season starts pretty soon.
Yeah, man. Next week or 2 weeks.
Yeah, next week. Yeah,
Yep.
the 25th. Yeah.
Yeah, man. It'll be fun.
All right,
buddy. I'll talk to you.
All right.
See ya. Bye. There he is, Tristan. Okay. Again, line is open, 267-939-1216. To get anything on rookie camp, anything else as well. Again, like I mentioned, practice Thursday, Friday, morning skate for the game on Friday night. That's at 7 at PPL Center. Saturday, game 2. That's at 5. Practice Sunday at 10, Monday at 11, and then Tuesday at 11, all in Voorhees for Flyers rookie camp. It'll be interesting to kind of see how this goes. Again, the roster, I'm going to kind of go through it again because some invites, we'll start with the forward, J.R. Avon. Obviously been at development camp, been in the organization for a handful of years now. It doesn't surprise me. He actually had a pretty good rookie camp last year and had a good showing in the games. Denver Barkey, this will be interesting because Barkey didn't play in development camp, wasn't able to participate. He was injured, and it'll be interesting to kind of see, I think, A, how he plays, just as a forward, but I think B, too, like him and Bonk, teammates, the way that they kind of react. I'm excited to kind of see how that goes. Bobby Brink, I thought, had a really, really, really good development camp. Looks really strong. Him and Forrester are the two guys that I'm looking for to really kind of take over this. I have not seen anything from the Rangers and kind of what their roster might look like for the games. Matt Brown, camp invite as well. Alex Ziernik, 4th round pick, obviously this past year. Elliot Desnoyers, Jonathan Fachon, he's an invite as well. Interesting there. Again, another center that can kind of play, and it'll be interesting to kind of see what happens there. And if Fachon ends up having a good camp, you could see him end up coming back. Again, like I mentioned, Tyson Forrester, Brendan Fury, obviously played last year with the Phantoms, probably going to be getting an AHL deal soon. That's my guess. Jacob Gaucher, who I mentioned earlier on the segment with Mike. Alexei Gendron, obviously very skilled, had a lot of points this past year in the queue, over 100. Oh my God, I think he had almost 60 goals this past year in the QMJHL. Samu Tuamala, who I thought had a pretty good development camp, was at least able to shoot, looked better, I think, in all types of areas. But I am getting a call here. Let me pick this one up. Hey, Dad, you're on the air.
All right, real quick, and I'll just hang up and listen.
Yeah, what's up?
Once again, great with Mike. My question is, 2 rookie games this weekend up in Allentown. You think they're playing anybody longer than others, or you think everybody's going to get a fair shake? You know what I mean? A fair amount of time, decent amount, the same amount of time, I should say.
Right.
On ice or what? What are your thoughts? I'll hang up and listen. Great show. And let's go Flyers.
All right, Dad. I'll talk to you.
Peace.
See ya. There he is, my father. Here we go. So, let me finish out the roster real quick, and then we'll kind of cut through that type of question, because I think it's good, and I think it's a smart thing to kind of get the roster first. Zayd Wisdom rounds out the forwards. Then you have Emil Andre. Obviously, everybody knows Andre. Oliver Bonk, Adam Ginning, Helge Grans, Mateo Mann, Mason Millman, Ethan Sampson, Sam Sedley, Carter Southern, and Will Zmolik. Goaltenders Carson Bjarnason and Nolan Meyer. I'm very interested to see how Bjarnason plays. My guess is that Bjarnason's probably going to start the first game. My guess, I'm thinking Bjarnason is going to start that first game, and Meyer might get the other one. Could go the other way. Meyer gets Friday, Bjarnason gets Saturday. I'm not too sure kind of how that's going to go. I think it depends on, the lines and kind of where they're seeing that specific type of player. As for the D, I think obviously Andre Bonk, that's probably the first pair. That's got to be my guess. Adam Ginning is probably going to play a good chunk of minutes. The guys that you're expecting to at least probably make some sort of an impact in the organization, at least this season, for their respected teams, whether it be the Phantoms. Some guys might be in Reading, some guys still in the queue. Sam Sedley, he's an invite, so he's trying to make an impact. Excuse me, those type of players, they're going to be trying to make the most noise. Guys like Andre, guys like, Bonk, they're competing for spots. So it'll be interesting. Again, I think Bonk is like a long way off. I think Andre has a really good chance to make the team, or at least make the team out of main camp. But again, guys like Genning playing for an NHL spot too, played a little bit last year. Ethan Sampson, I think he's definitely going to be a Phantom this year, who I thought actually had a really good development camp. I thought Sampson had some really good moments, good defensively, can definitely shoot. I think the defense is kind of rounding up pretty well. So we'll kind of see where that goes. Wills Molik, who obviously, was a Phantom signing last year out of college, kind of came up towards the end of the year and into the Calder Cup playoffs for the Phantoms. But again, like I said, even with the offense, like guys like Brink, Forrester, Dinoyer, it's probably going to be your first line. Barkey, Avon, Ziernik. I mean, I think there's some other guys that I'm a little more curious to see too in game form, specifically Ziernik, Barkey, Tuamala, again, just to kind of re-see that, because again, we kind of have an idea of what Dinoyer and Brink and Forrester can kind of do, because they've done it a little bit at the AHL or NHL level type of thing. Some of the younger guys I'm a little more curious to see just because of where they're at. So it'll be interesting. I'm curious, kind of where this goes, especially with the on ice on Thursday. Hopefully everybody can stay healthy and then everyone can play in the games. Again, you got 13 forwards, 10 D, and 2 goalies. So it'll be interesting to kind of see where that goes to, because again, like I mentioned before, that's a lot more guys than usual. And, having 10 defensemen and, 13 forwards, and you can only, dress 18 in total, and the Flyers have 25 on the entire roster. There's going to be some cuts and stuff like that too. Zayd, Mr. Twister says, I was really hoping Zayd Wisdom could be solid. Still time, but not looking great. Yeah, unfortunately, Wisdom's kind of had a little bit of a rough patch here. Hopefully, he can kind of turn it around. He is another guy that I genuinely think could get some good minutes this weekend. It'll be interesting to see how it plays out. I think there's a good mix here, and I think Lappy's going to have a good couple of decisions. I'm assuming that Lappy's going to probably oversee some of it. That's kind of how it went last year as well. And obviously the player development staff will be there. Not sure who will be on the bench, off the bench, watching from the press box type of thing. I'm assuming Daniel Briere will be there, but it'll be interesting to kind of see how that plays out too, because I think, again, like I said, there's a lot of different line combinations you could roll with here, specifically if you're trying to get the most impact out of some guys. And again, like I said, there's a lot of questions with this, and I love these type of camps because you're able to see a lot of different things in certain players too, and even the invites. I mean, guys like Matt Brown, who we don't really know right now, Fury, Gaucher, and Sam Sedley. The Flyers have 5 invites. Nolan Meyer being the other one, but he ended up playing with the Phantoms for a good chunk of last year too. So yeah, it'll be interesting. We'll kind of see how that goes. Again, phone line is open, 267-939-1216. Another thing, Brian Boucher is now the color analyst for NBC Philly. He'll be there for the Flyers games on television. I completely draw a blank there. Flyers games on television with JJ. It'll be interesting to see how that goes. Again, I really like Bouch. He did the one game last year, I think 1 or 2 games. When Jonesy was doing TNT, I think they had Bouch kind of fill in. My guess is when Bouch is probably either doing TNT or some other national game, I'm assuming that Scotty Hartnell is probably going to fill in. That's my guess. It'll be, I don't know. It's hard to tell because I think there's a good mix of kind of where the television broadcast is at. I like Bouch getting added to that. And obviously JJ is great as always. So, there's a lot of different things to kind of, look at there too. Philly Ghost, Chris, I remember when Couturier broke into the league and as a rookie. Danny B's family took him in for the first couple of seasons. Yeah, definitely. And that's the thing. Like that's that type of mentality and kind of family like the Flyers have been. And that's kind of something that's kind of been kind of gone a little bit, but is also kind of, it's been coming back. And I think guys like Danny, Jonesy, they understand that and they know where that is. So, yeah, I mean, outside of that, I think that's it for me tonight, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you, everybody, again, always for tuning in. Tristan for calling in, my dad for calling in, Mr. Twister, Howard, Philly Ghost. And I believe that's it. Yep. Yeah, always a fun time. Again, I got a huge announcement coming on Friday at 12:30. I got a new podcast coming out. I'm very excited to announce that. I can't wait. It's going to be a lot of fun. So stay tuned for that announcement. Get me on Twitter for that. And yeah, I'll be posting some stuff about that soon. Coming live this month. I can't wait. This is going to be so fun to kind of announce and start kind of get going. So we will we'll see what happens, ladies and gentlemen. Thanks everybody again for all the support as always. And I'll talk to you all again next Tuesday. See you guys.